Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Welcome this morning. Hope you're doing great. Good morning, all. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing all right. It is the 23rd day. Here we are in this first 11/11 back from this fall. So it is officially fall, the coming of the leaves starting to change. Although it's a little balmy out there today, it there is uh, there is cool weather and the coming of real that the pumpkin spice season is upon us. So hope you're doing great today. Back at another week. Good morning, everybody. Wait for a couple more folks to come along. A little sailboat mug up this morning. Everybody's doing well. We'll get going here in a second. All right. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Hope things are grand down there. And good morning, Yvette. Hope things are good. Good morning. All right, we are. Let's get going this morning. It is the 23rd day of September on this Tuesday at 11:11. Welcome, and I'm glad you're a part of this ongoing journey of rambling through the world. Uh, you know, I've been revisiting some old friends. I like to call them books. That it's kind of who I am in terms of I'm a kind of a guy who believes in in kind of salvation through a book, through books. It's a problem, I admit. And so this morning I want to tell you one of the old friends I've been revisiting, which is this guy. It is called The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis. I know, not very friendly, right? But it's a pretty philosophical little read. Like it's not a whimsical tale like his work in Narnia and stuff like that. It's a real examination of really hard things. And I think if we look at our world right now, we're people contending with really hard things. Like I don't know anybody really that isn't grieving in some way, that isn't looking at the world and they have a loss of somebody beloved or maybe a public figure that has died. Maybe whatever you think of Charlie Kirk, there is the outpouring of grief that was seen over the weekend. And again, don't hear what I'm not saying. You do with that whatever you want. What I am saying is that the problem of pain is very much with us, and it's an interesting thing because and this book is interesting, and I wanted to come back to it because of the fact that it was that when C.S. Lewis wrote it, he was contending with probably certainly more pain than we are right now, because this book was published in 1940 in England. So he was an English theologian, apologist, and so in 1940 in England, if you know, it was what is called the Battle of Britain. So there was the Germans were executing this incredible air war on England, and children were being sent off to the country to get away from the bombing. City centers every night were blacked out, and fire brigades. People were heading into the subways and the tube to use as bomb shelters. It was a time. There was a problem of pain that And Lewis was right in the middle of it. So he was a World War I veteran. And he still had great desire to serve his nation. And so he was in the middle of talking to pilots and soldiers because he was fairly famous at this point. He was in the process. He would talk to pilots and soldiers, and particularly pilots that were headed for the skies to battle the Luftwaffe, and many of them would die. Many of them would not come back. That he knew he would walk into a wardroom and he would look at young, bright, incredibly capable faces that may have just had their last breakfast before they head off to the skies to defend the skies of Britain. So, and so he's in the middle of this, and he writes this treatise, The Problem of Pain, as his attempt to how do we contend with this world that leaves us with so much grief and so much difficulty. And there's this, and he has a number of scriptures that he kind of quotes in some ways or brings in over time. But one of them is that there's a number of them that he leans into about kind of the question of who Jesus says he is, because this is part of the question of what he's dealing with is if there's this, the problem is, as he says, is that he's kind of, because he kind of begins with this idea of that pain wouldn't be a problem. Pain wouldn't be a problem if it weren't, side by side with our daily experience. So he writes it this way. He says, "For pain would be no problem unless, side by side with our daily experience, this painful world, we had received what we think a good assurance that ultimate reality is righteous and loving." And we know this, don't we? We know that ultimate reality. We know that we're wired for actual beauty and actual goodness and actual righteousness and actual loving. We know that because our soul and our being and our very bodies know when we don't get it, when we encounter the pain, we know that this is not as it should be. That we know that this is other than the order of than this is a proper order of things. It's very deep in us, I think it's a brilliant observation that he begins with, because it's this notion of how do we understand, how do we even know the pain's a bad thing? Well, we just know, and we know it deep, and not just because it hurts. That the hurts is almost the next level of it. It is that the very sense of we know that the ultimate reality is righteous and loving and beautiful. Karen's daughter, Stephanie, the other day posted a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful video of where she lives down in Five Islands, and it was low tide, and the water was perfectly still, and the light this time of year in Maine is more perfect than any other. That is just hanging low in the sky, and the way that it just makes everything glow and come alive. And just watching that video, watching the beauty of that, watching the wonder of it, and just everything glowing in the afternoon sun, that image, we know that we stand in that place of this righteous and loving and beautiful creation. And yet, side by side with this is this painful world where men were in the skies battling it out, where families were losing loved ones, where grief and sorrow and brokenness and bombs and bullets were forming the world, and that these two realities can live right together. And so the question is, again, this is a really kind of theological little book, and I know I'm talking about books. I don't usually do this, but I kind of want to do today. So where he talks about who this question of, if we're going to solve the problem of pain, part of the person that came to solve the problem of pain is Christ. And so if it is, who does this person that's going to solve the problem of pain say that he is? And it is this. It is, and so this is from the 10th chapter of John. where he says that, where Jesus is kind of trying to communicate to the disciples like what his job is and what his role is and kind of who he is. And so he's using all those images and metaphors, and so he uses himself as the metaphor of the kind of the good shepherd. And it says this seventh verse. He says, "So again, Jesus said to them, 'Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep, and all who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. I am the gate.'" Now, this image of being the gate, this being, again, we will hear this other places, I'm the truth, the way, and the life. What does that mean, and why does that have to do with the problem of pain? You see, this is what makes Christianity different than every other tradition in the world. Every other tradition in the world contends with the problem of pain and says to you, get out, escape. And there's strains of that within Christianity, certainly. One God day, when this life is over, I'll fly away. Like, there is this instinct to fly away, like it's part of that. But when Jesus is saying, I am the gate, I'm the entry point into the pasture. I am the entering point into the place where suffering, where we can deal with where we don't have to contend with the problem of pain, or we have all the resources we need perhaps to contend with the problem of pain. Is what he's saying is the opposite of many, many other great traditions in the world. He says the others are thieves. He's really pointing a finger. And he's saying that it is that because he's declaring who he is, which is the incarnation of divinity in time and space in human form. He's God come into the world as in humanity. He is God fully incarnate in the world, and by doing that, he gives us this way through the pain and through the suffering and through this notion. His first 3 points in this book are that pain's inevitable. We're going to have it in our life. The second is that pain has potential within us to make us grow and mature. And that lastly, then his third point. There's like 13 or 14 different points in the book, so we're not going to take the deep dive. But he says that pain brings us closer to God and to one another, and it ultimately increases our faith. Now, you might not like that answer, and he has a whole book to tell you why you should, his whole 206 pages to tell you why you should like that answer, but what I think it all points to is this, and this is where I want to land us today. This is all to get us hopefully to this point of how I think the beauty of our lives can be found in this gate, in this way, in this Jesus character, and it's this, is that everything in our world right now, everything in our world is trying to draw us out of our pain. Whether it is, any amount of medicine, any amount of pills that we can take, any amount of stuff that we can shove down our gobstopper to be, alleviate our physical suffering. Whether it is, video games and movies and screens that can distract us from the place that we are, from the here and now and the moment that we're in. Anything that can, any amount of brownies that we can stuff in our face to, so that our bellies feel full and we don't have to contend with our feelings. That there is this constant fire hose of energy, or even our outrage. We're constantly being outraged farmed and that's a way of kind of escaping where you are, right? Like if you can point at the world, like that's the problem, that's the problem, and that's the problem, and those are the problems, and I don't have to contend with where I'm actually. I can look at those things rather than actually be where I am and deal with the relationships that I have and the life that I have and the world that I have and be present to life in that way. And what Jesus does, what God coming into the world as human does to us is no. The way isn't out. The way isn't the great by and by. The way isn't this thing. The way is right here and right now, in your life right now. It's in your heartbreak, it's in your grief, it's in your joys, it's in your wonders. And that when we numb out, when we escape that, when we seek to take the end run around the gate, around the difficult, around the problem of pain in our life, when we and that doesn't mean we have to kind of constantly roll around in razor blades or broken glass. That's not the point. We don't have to create suffering. Don't worry, life will bring enough of it. We don't have to create pain, but we do have to contend with what we have, and that in entering into that, it's not just that we're somehow anesthetizing ourselves to get through this thing. That we're not somehow escaping it. We're not somehow withdrawing so that we don't have to deal with the sting of failures or the sting of difficulty. What we're doing is we're really missing out. We're missing out on the pasture that is just beyond. We're missing out on the beauty that can come through contending with our struggles. We're missing out on the potentiality of what we might grow into and what we might be. We're missing out on our closer relationship with the people in our lives and with the one who made us, and on the ability to truly lean on and lean into the gate that opens and draws us in to greater and more beautiful pastures. See, when Jesus says, "I'm the gate," he's inviting us to trust him. He's inviting us to say, not only is it an invitation to trust, but it's an invitation to say, I know this way. Like, I know the way because I am the way. Like, I'm the gate. The gate knows where the pasture is because the gate is at the head of the pasture. Like, there's a sense where, like, I know where you're going. I know what good things are in store. I know this, and I know that there's that courage and compassion and love are all there and possible and waiting for you. He goes on and he says this, and Lewis says this in The Problem of Pain. When pain is to be borne, a little courage helps more than a lot of knowledge. A little human sympathy more than much courage. And the least tincture of a little of the love of God more than all. Today I want to remind you that you are loved beyond measure. The one who made you, the one who whispered you into being, loves you. And loves you beyond anything you could imagine, beyond anything you've ever loved in this world. You are loved by God every second. And that these problems, these of pain that we contend with are not punishments or even just things to be endured, but they really are gates. They are invitations into the human experience of what it is to be alive and what it is to overcome the difficulties of being alive and to grow in strength and stature and maturity and closer to God and closer to each other and deepen our faith. And that, friends, is my hope for you today on this 11/11. Peace and grace to you all, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11/11.